Hey everyone, I'm Jennifer. Today we're talking about the EOS R for hybrid for your weddings and events. If you shoot photos and video at the same time on the EOS R, this video is for you. However, it will work mostly for some of the other Canon cameras, and there's still some tips in here that can work for you on other systems. But it's mostly geared toward the EOS R and what I'm using for my weddings, mostly for hybrid coverage. I also want to make a shout out to the people in the private Facebook group for Taylor Jackson for intriguing me on this topic. We've been talking about it for months all together, and if you're interested, I'm glad you're here. The most important part about hybrid coverage in a camera is that the camera is capable of switching from photo to video in a snap. That is not possible on a lot of the mirrorless and DSLR cameras. However, on the EOS R, there is a way, and that's what I'm going to show you. Lastly, before I get into the settings, I just want to let you know that this is stuff that I've come up with, but also tips that I've taken out of a bunch of different YouTubers, kind of put them all together and made them work for me. And I have used all of these techniques myself successfully. The first thing you should do is set your camera to video. Go into your menu, go into your fourth menu under the camera and tap Canon log settings. Set the camera to Canon log on 8-bit. Change your color matrix to neutral. If you're not interested in color grading your footage, then don't turn the log on at all. Next, go back to your camera settings, change your shutter to 1/125th, set your aperture how you'd like it. I'm shooting at 2.8 most of the time, but sometimes I'm shooting around something like f4 if I'm worried the focus will be too shallow. If I know I will be outdoors in the sun, I'm using ISO 100. Now I know some people are using auto ISO, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. Again, assuming we are outside, I'm setting the white balance to daylight. I'm using the face tracking autofocus in full HD 1080, 60 or 5994. Next, go into your menu, tap the gear, and go to your sixth menu and tap custom shooting mode. Register the settings, then tap custom shooting mode 3. What you are doing is programming those settings to the record button on your camera. This means that when you are in photo mode and you hit the record button, those settings will be registered, which is awesome. So let's talk about the frame rate. At 60 frames per second, you are set up for slow motion. You have to decide what you want to be in slow motion and what you don't. Here is where things can get a little tricky. You've got two options. You can shoot all your footage for slow-mo, or you can shoot some of it for slow-mo and some of it for 24 frames or real time. If you're shooting some of your footage in 24, then you have two options really. You can set a second body for 24 frames a second, or you can set a different custom shooting mode for 24 frames per second. Just know that you won't be able to use the record button from the photo mode for the additional custom setting. This means you'll need to hit mode and info and then toggle or tap the custom setting to go into that setting. If I was on a single camera and I wanted some of my footage in 24, I would probably try to map out exactly which parts of the wedding I needed in 24 and which I needed in 60, so I wouldn't have to keep switching. Usually the ceremony and whenever people are talking is shot in 24. A quick tip for post-production, you should export your film in 24, no matter if there's 60, 30, or 24 mixed in there. Now, if you're running a second camera, no problem. Set one of the slow motion and one for real time. Let's talk about exposure. I like to have all my settings ready to go, and when it comes to exposure, I know I can't change my shutter speed since it has to be double my frame rate. I maintain my exposure using ISO and an ND filter. I don't like to use auto ISO because I like to have a little control over exposure of every single shot. I'd rather not leave it up to the camera. This is a preference. Another way I control my exposure is with an ND filter. Some people might ask, well, if you're doing hybrid, how are you shooting with an ND filter? When you set your camera for the photography side, expose using the lowest end of the ND. Lastly, I'm going to talk about a couple other gear-related options. I have recently started working with a second to help with both photo and video. During the ceremony, I'm just shooting photo and my second is just shooting video. Depending on the look you're going for, you can get the person shooting on sticks or a monopod and getting all the angles you need. Typically, I'm having that person roll the entire time and moving into predetermined positions with a simple shot list. If you're alone and just need a one-off of the ceremony, you could set up sticks in the two-shot. lenses might be your toughest choice. You don't want to do much switching, so your best bet is to choose 2 lenses you can stick with all day. For me, I have my 70-200 for the ceremony. After that, I'm down to an 85 and most likely a 24-70. I love the versatility of the 24-70 and running gun situations like weddings, and I love the look of portraits on the 85mm. 85 will be quite tight in some video situations, but with the new RF lenses coming out, I think the 85mm will be perfect for weddings. Thanks for watching. I hope this helped some of you EOS R shooters out there. Keep in mind that this stuff will also work for the R5. It's not going to work on the R6. If you like this video, give it a like. If you have any comments about this or questions, please let me know in the comments. And if you'd like to see a video about actually shooting or editing wedding videos, let me know and maybe I'll make one of those. Thanks so much. Have a great day.